The world of Eloria was silent at night. The stars above were clear, but the people below felt fear. The sky looked peaceful, but the war had already started. Commander Helen Brooks stood on a broken wall near the edge of the capital city. She looked at the smoke rising from the hills. The Varnock Dominion was getting closer. Their machines moved like shadows across the land. Their ships blocked the sun in the day and glowed red at night. She held a small communicator in her hand. Her voice was calm but tired. "This is Commander Brooks of Eloria. We are under attack. The enemy has taken the north and west sectors. We request help. Is anyone out there?" No reply came. The signal went out, but no one answered. She lowered the communicator and closed her eyes. She already knew what most people believed. No one was coming. The Galactic Council had already turned their backs. They had sent a message weeks ago. Eloria was considered a lost cause. They would not waste resources. Helen looked down at her city. The streets were empty. Lights flickered. Buildings had fallen. Food and water were short. People had moved into shelters underground. She knew time was running out. "Commander," said a young officer, walking up behind her, "the enemy has moved past the river. 2 outposts are gone. We lost contact with Echo Team." Helen nodded. "How many soldiers do we have left?" "Less than 200, maybe less with the wounded." She looked at the sky again. "Keep sending the signal, every hour. Maybe someone will hear it. Far away, near. The edge of the solar system, a small outpost sat hidden inside a moon. Earth had built it long ago, but no one outside Earth knew it was there. Inside, a man listened to a quiet sound. A repeating message. Captain Eric Lane stood up from his desk. He played the signal again. The voice was clear but weak. "This is Commander Brooks of Eloria. We are under attack. We request help. Is anyone out there?" He turned to the officer beside him. "Where is this coming from?" "The Eloria system, sir. It's a colony world under Varnock attack." Eric nodded. He had heard about Eloria, a peaceful world, not rich in resources, but full of kind people. The Varnock wanted to break it simply to show power. He walked to a secure panel and sent a message to Earth Command. Within hours, he received a reply. Admiral Karen Wolfe had given the order. "Prepare the fleet. Earth is going to war." At Earth's largest shipyard, the docks came alive. Great metal ships stood like mountains above the workers. These were Earth's dreadnoughts, built in silence over years, hidden from the eyes of the galaxy, stronger than anything the Council had ever seen. Captain Lane walked up the ramp of his ship, the ESF Resolute. His crew followed him. Lieutenant Rachel Moore checked her systems. Jordan Blake, the pilot, smiled as he powered up the engines. Chief Engineer Daniel Cruz gave a short nod from below deck. "All systems green," Rachel said. Eric looked at them. "This is not a rescue. This is a message. Earth is not weak. Earth is not silent." The Resolute lifted into space. Other ships joined it. One by one, the dreadnoughts left orbit and entered the dark. Back on Eloria, the night was long. People sat close together in cold shelters. Mothers held children. Soldiers cleaned old weapons. Helen walked through the city, checking on the wounded and giving soft words to the scared. She stopped near a window and looked at the stars again. Her eyes were tired, but her voice stayed strong. "Hold on," she whispered. "Please hold on." Then something changed. One of the officers called out from the command post, Ma'am, we are picking up something in orbit. Helen rushed over. More Varnak. The officer shook his head. No, something else. Big. A flash of light filled the sky. Then another. People looked up. Shadows passed over the stars. Massive ships, dark and quiet, moved across the sky like giants. One by one they appeared. Dozens. Of them, their sides marked with the flag of Earth. For the first time in weeks, Helen smiled. They came, she said. They actually came. The Varnak command ship picked up the same signals. Alarms sounded. The general shouted orders, but it was too late. Earth had arrived. The Resolute moved into position. Captain Lane stood at the front. Screen. The planet below looked broken but still alive. Begin operations, he said. Rachel sent the codes. Jordan opened the drop bays. Daniel watched the engines as the ship held firm against the planet's gravity from the Resolute and the other. Dreadnoughts, smaller ships, launched toward the surface. Earth Marines were on their way. For the people of Illyria, hope returned with the fire in the sky, and for the Varnak, fear began to grow, because they now knew something they had never believed. Humanity was not weak, and Earth had not forgotten them. Asterisk, the sky above Illyria was full of fire and light. The people in the city looked up and saw the dark shapes of Earth's dreadnoughts. They were large and silent, like mountains floating in space. Each one moved with slow power. Their engines glowed, casting shadows across the land. Inside the ES Resolute, Captain Eric Lane stood near the front window. He watched the planet spin below. The city lights were weak, and smoke rose from many places. He turned to his crew. Begin full scan, he said. Find the main Varnak positions. Lieutenant Rachel Moore tapped her screen. Red marks appeared across the map. Varnak bases here, here, and here. Their command ship is still in low orbit. Eric nodded. We strike in 1 hour. Send the order to the fleet. In the hangars, Earth Marines prepared for drop. Commander Louis Grant checked his team. They wore simple black armor with Earth symbols on the shoulders. Each soldier carried a rifle. And a clear goal, Louis walked to the front of the group. We are here to protect. We are here to fight. But most of all, we are here to show the enemy what happens when Earth answers the call. The dropships opened and launched toward the surface. On the ground, Helen Brooks heard the sound first. It was like thunder, but deeper. She looked up and saw small craft falling from the sky. Her heart beat faster. One of her officers ran to her. Unknown ships landing in Grid 12. Helen picked up her communicator. This is Commander Brooks of Illyria, who is landing near the city. A calm voice answered, Commander Brooks, this is Commander Louis Grant of Earth Space Command. We are here to assist. Helen took a deep breath. Welcome to Illyria, Commander. We need help on all fronts. The Varnak have control of most key areas. We have Marines landing now. Send us your last known enemy positions. She gave the details quickly. For the first time in days, she did not feel alone. The first group of Earth Marines hit the ground and moved fast. They set up defense points and cleared buildings. They worked with the Illyrian soldiers, sharing gear and food. The people watched them with wide eyes. These strangers were strong, calm, and ready. In the sky, the Resolute led a strike. On the Varnak command ship, Rachel locked on targets. Jordan Blake, the pilot, smiled as he sent the ship into position. Weapons ready, Rachel said. Fire, Eric replied. Lasers flashed. The Varnak ship shook. It returned fire, but Earth's armor held strong. Other dreadnoughts joined the attack. Together, they focused on the Varnak shield system. Within minutes, the shield collapsed. "Target the engines," Eric ordered. The Resolute fired again. A deep explosion followed. The Varnak ship spun out of control and began falling toward the sea. Back on the ground, Helen and Louis met near the main bunker. She looked at the soldiers moving past. "I didn't think anyone would come," she said. Louis nodded. "Earth has stayed quiet for a long time. But we've been watching. We saw what the council ignored." Helen walked with him to the map table. "We need to hit their supply base. If we cut that off, the rest will fall." "We'll go together," Louis said. "Your people know the land. Ours can bring the force." At night, the mission began. 2 teams moved through the broken streets. They kept low, moving past ruins and rubble. The Varnak had guards, but they were not ready for a joint strike. Helen led the Elorian team. Louis led the Earth team. They moved like one unit. Quiet, quick, focused. They reached the supply base just before sunrise. Helen signaled her team to spread out. Louis whispered into his "Come." "Rachel, we're at the target." Back on the Resolute, Rachel nodded. "You have air support." The sky lit up again as Earth fighters flew low, firing at Varnak turrets. The base shook. Helen and Louis rushed in with their teams. The battle was short but intense. The Varnak were strong, but they were not ready for Earth tech and Elorian courage. One by one, they fell. Inside the main control room, Helen placed charges. She looked at the data screen. The base had been their central command on Eloria. She looked at Louis. "Let's finish it." The base exploded in a bright wave of light. Smoke rose into the air. By morning, the city was quiet. The Varnak pulled back. Earth ships flew overhead. People came out of shelters, blinking in the sunlight. Helen stood on a rooftop and watched the dreadnoughts move in the sky. Eric Lane contacted her. "We have taken control of orbit. The Varnak are falling back." "Thank you," she said. "It's not over yet, but we're here now, and we won't leave you." She smiled. "That's all we ever wanted." The day ended with hope. For the first time in weeks, people believed they might survive. Earth had come, and the enemy now knew that humans were not weak. The fight was not finished, but the tide had turned. The shadow of the dreadnoughts stayed in the sky, watching. Guarding Dot and Eloria was not alone anymore. Asterisk. The city of Eloria was still standing, but the signs of war were everywhere. Broken buildings, black smoke, and deep craters filled the streets. But now there was something else in the air. It was not fear, it was hope. Earth's dreadnoughts stayed in orbit, keeping watch. Varnak ships had pulled back, but no one thought the fight was over. The enemy was angry and dangerous. Everyone knew they would try again. Inside the command center, Commander Helen Brooks stood beside Captain Eric Lane. A large map showed the city and nearby zones. Red marks showed enemy movement. "They are regrouping near the mountains," Helen said. "We believe they are planning another attack." Eric nodded. "They lost their command base. Now they want revenge. We need to stop them before they attack. But we are low on supplies and power." "We can help with that," Eric said. "Our ships have fresh food, clean water, and medical units. We'll share everything we can." Helen looked at him. "You didn't have to come, but you did. I won't forget that." "Earth doesn't forget its friends," he said. We've been silent, but not blind. While they spoke, the crew of the ESF Resolute stayed busy. Lieutenant Rachel Moore checked the ship's long-range scans. She noticed something strange. "Captain," she called through the comm, "I see movement beyond the planet's far side. It looks like more Varnock ships." "A lot of them," Eric replied quickly. "How many?" "At least 15 warships, bigger than before." Eric's face turned serious. "Alert the fleet. Bring all systems to ready." In the city below, people heard the warning sirens again. Earth's Marines moved to defense posts. Helen gave orders to her. Troops, soldiers, and volunteers worked side by side. At the edge of the city, a group of Marines, led by Commander Louis Grant, set up a forward defense. With them was Jordan Blake, who had flown one of the dropships. "We're going to hold this line," Louis said. "If they break through here, the city is open." Jordan checked his gear. "We won't let that happen." That night, the stars lit up once more. The Varnock had returned. From the hills and sky, their machines came. Giant walkers stomped toward the city. Their ships fired from high above, but this time, Earth was ready. The Resolute fired first, striking the lead Varnock ship. The blast tore through metal and fire lit the sky. Other Earth ships followed. Their beams cut the dark like sharp blades. On the ground, the Marines fought with strength and speed. They used their new weapons with skill. Elorian soldiers supported them, holding buildings and guiding civilians to safety. Near the edge of the city, Rachel Moore led a special mission. A Varnock command ship had dropped close to a power station. If they took control, they could shut down all defenses. Rachel flew a small scout ship with 3 others. They dodged enemy fire and landed. "Behind the enemy lines, we move fast," she said. "We find the core and shut it down." The team entered the station. Inside, the air was hot and thick with smoke. The Varnock had guards, but Earth Tech gave them the edge. They reached the core room. Rachel placed a small device on the control panel. "This will send a signal to the Resolute. They can target the ship from space." Before they could leave, a blast shook the room. One of the walls broke and fire rushed in. Rachel's ship was hit outside. It exploded. "We're stuck," one soldier said. "How do we get out?" Rachel looked round. "We move on foot. We signal for ground rescue." In the city, Helen heard the message. She called Commander Grant. "Rachel's team is down. They need rescue." "They're near the old station." Louis didn't wait. He grabbed a team and moved toward the site. He took Helen with him. She knew the area well. They fought through heavy fire. Varnock guards blocked every road. But together, they pushed forward. They reached the station just as Varnock troops were closing in. "Cover fire," Louis shouted. Rachel and her team ran from the broken building. Helen pulled her behind a wall. "You're lucky we got the signal," Helen said. "Lucky you answered," Rachel replied. The team returned to the city with Rachel safe. The signal she left had worked. The Resolute locked onto the station and fired. A bright light covered the land as the station and the Varnock ship were destroyed. By morning, the battle was over. The Varnock had failed again. Their ships pulled back into deep space. Inside the command center, Eric stood beside a large window. The sun rose slowly over the city. Helen joined him. "That was close," she said. "Too close," Eric replied. "But we held the line. Do you think they'll come back?" "Yes," Eric said. "But so will we, every time." Outside, the people of Eloria began to clean the streets. They worked with Earth Marines, side by side. Children carried water. Elders gave out food. Hope grew stronger. The shadow of the dreadnoughts stayed in the sky. Silent, watching, ready. For now, Eloria was safe, and the galaxy was starting to learn what it meant when Earth stood up and fought. The sun rose over Eloria, casting light on the broken city. Smoke still rose from some buildings, but the streets were calm. People walked out of shelters and helped clear rubble. For the first time in many days, they felt like the danger had passed. Captain Eric Lane stood on the command deck of the Resolute. The ship floated above the city, quiet and steady. He looked at the new scans coming in. Varnic ships have left the system, Rachel Moore said. But there are strange signals near the edge of the belt. Keep an eye on them, Eric replied. I don't trust silence from the Varnac. On the surface, Commander Helen Brooks moved through the city streets. She stopped to speak with people, to thank them, and to make sure the wounded had care. She could feel that something was still not right. It was to calm. Commander Louis Grant met her near the west gate. We've set up defense lines around the city, he said. Marines are watching every road and rooftop. If the Varnock return, we'll be ready. Helen nodded. They're not done. I can feel it. Later that night, the strange signals Rachel noticed grew stronger. One of the dreadnoughts picked up a deep energy wave. It came from a hidden asteroid field just outside the system. Eric called a quick meeting. Rachel, Jordan, and Daniel Cruz joined him. We think the Varnac are building something, Rachel said. The energy is steady, and it keeps growing. Could be a ship, Daniel added. Or something worse. We can't let them finish it, Eric said. We strike now. 3 dreadnoughts broke from orbit and jumped to the asteroid field. In the middle of the rocks, they found it. A huge Varnock structure, part ship, part station, still being built, but nearly complete. That's not just a ship, Jordan said. It's a weapon. The Resolute opened fire. The other ships joined in. Beams of light burned through the dark. The Varnock responded, launching fighters and returning fire. The rocks around them exploded. On Eloria, the sky lit up. Helen saw the flashes and called Eric. What's happening? We found a Varnac weapon, he said. We're stopping it. Helen looked at the people around her. They were tired but brave. She gave new orders to prepare for impact. If the battle in space went wrong, they would be the next target. In space, the fight grew worse. The Varnac weapon fired a heavy pulse. One of the Earth ships was hit. It spun out and vanished into the dark. The Resolute shook but held position. We need to shut it down, Eric said. Now. Daniel Cruz sent a team to fly close and plant a core overload. They used a small ship and flew low through the rocks. Rachel guided them from the Resolute. Stay low. Watch for mines, she said. The team reached the weapon. They planted the device and flew back fast. Rachel counted the seconds. 3, 2, 1. The Varnac weapon exploded. A wave of fire and metal spread across the asteroid field. The shockwave reached the Earth ships, but their shields held. Eric let out a breath. It's done. On Eloria, people saw the final flash and cheered. Children ran through the streets. The dreadnoughts had saved them again. The next day, Eric came down to the surface. He met Helen in the city square. She shook his hand. You destroyed their secret weapon, she said. You've given us more time. And we'll stay, Eric said, until the job is finished. Earth began to bring in more help. Medical teams, engineers, and supplies landed in large carriers. Ilorian cities started to rebuild with Earth's help, but far away, in deep space. The Varnak watched. Their leaders spoke in dark halls. They had lost twice, and their pride was hurt. "Send the message," one of them said. "Earth has shown its teeth. Now we show our claws." Back on Eloria, Helen stood beside a wall where a child had painted a dreadnought with stars around it. She smiled. She knew the fight was not over, but she also knew that Earth would not run. The dreadnoughts still floated above, guarding the sky dot, and for the first time in her life, she believed the enemy was afraid. The stars over Eloria were clear again. The sky was no longer full of fire. The dreadnoughts still floated above, silent and strong. They were now symbols of safety to the people below. Inside the ESF Resolute, Captain Eric Lane stood with his officers. A message had arrived from Earth Command. More support was coming. New ships, food, medicine, and workers. But the message also said something else. "The Varnak are building a new fleet," Rachel Moore said, reading the data. "They are gathering near a red giant in Sector 9. It's not close, but they will come back." Eric nodded. "Then we stop them before they can finish." He turned to his team. "We leave 2 dreadnoughts here to protect Eloria. The rest of us go." On the surface, Helen Brooks met with Commander Louis Grant. They watched supply trucks move through the city. Earth engineers were fixing power lines and water systems. Children were helping carry tools. The city was alive again. "You're leaving," Helen said. "Just part of the fleet," Louis replied. "Captain Lane wants to take the fight to them." Helen looked up at the sky. "You saved us. Now you're going to save others." "That's the plan," Louis said. Before the fleet left, Eric came down to speak with Helen one more time. They met near the old bunker where their first messages had been shared. "You gave us hope," Helen said. "You gave us courage," Eric replied. "This wasn't just Earth helping Eloria. This was Earth showing the galaxy we won't stay quiet." They shook hands. No more words were needed. Soon after, 4 dreadnoughts jumped into deep space. The Resolute led the way. Inside, Rachel checked the course. Jordan Blake sat at the controls. Daniel Cruz ran final checks below. Entering Sector 9 in 10 seconds, Rachel said, "The ships came out of warp near a red star." The Varnak fleet was there, bigger than before. Dozens of warships, support ships, and carriers. At the center was a massive command ship shaped like a claw. "They've been busy," Daniel said. Eric stood tall. "So have we." The battle started at once. Earth's dreadnoughts fired first, cutting through the first line of enemy ships. Returned fire with red beams and missiles. Jordan moved the Resolute through the chaos. "They're focusing on us." "Let them," Eric said. "Keep firing." One of the enemy ships got close. Rachel targeted its engines and fired. The ship exploded, pushing others away, but Earth was outnumbered. Even with stronger ships, the Varnak pressed hard. Eric saw the danger. "Time for the second wave," he said. From deep space, more Earth ships arrived, carriers and support cruisers. They had brought reinforcements. The tide turned. Earth ships moved in tight groups, breaking the Varnak lines. Fighters launched and struck enemy engines. Earth Marines boarded to enemy carriers and took control. Rachel found an opening. "The command ship is exposed." Eric gave the order. "All ships, focus, fire. Bring it down. The dreadnoughts locked on. Beams crossed the dark sky. The Varnock command ship shook, then burst into a massive fireball. The rest of the Varnock fleet broke apart. Some tried to run. Earth ships followed and disabled them. It was over. Back on Eloria, people watched from screens and radios. When the news came that Earth had won again, they cheered. Bells rang through the city. People held up drawings of the dreadnoughts and waved flags. Helen stood on a rooftop and listened. For the first time, peace felt real. Later, Captain Eric Lane stood in front of a council of allied worlds. His face was calm, but his voice was firm. The Varnock believed we would not come. They thought Earth would stay silent. They thought, no, one would help the weak. He paused. But we came. We came with fire and steel. We came with hope. Earth is not part of the council, but we will answer when people call. There was silence, then slow clapping, then loud cheers. Eric returned to the Resolute. He walked the halls of his ship. Crew members smiled and nodded. They had done what many thought was impossible. Back on Eloria, children played in streets that had once been battlegrounds. They pretended to fly dreadnoughts and protect the city. Their laughter filled the air. Helen placed a metal plate on a wall near the old bunker. It had simple words. They thought no one would come, but Earth came, and everything changed. The shadow of the dreadnoughts stayed in the skies of Eloria for many days, watching, guarding, reminding all who looked up that help could still come. That hope still lived among the stars. The days that followed were calm but tense. On Eloria, people worked hard to fix homes and rebuild schools. Earth teams helped wherever they could. The sound of tools and laughter slowly replaced the sound of sirens. But the dreadnoughts never left the sky. Captain Eric Lane stayed aboard the Resolute. He read reports from the outer systems. There were rumors of Varnock attacks on trade routes. Some colonies had gone silent. The enemy was moving. Again, in the war room, Rachel Moore pointed to a dark zone on the map. This region has lost contact, she said. No messages in or out for 3 days. That's where they're hiding, Eric said. We go now. He called Commander Louis Grant and told him to prepare his team. The mission was not to defend this time. It was to hunt before the ships left. Eric met Helen Brooks at the command tower in a... We're heading out again, he said. Helen looked worried. Is it worse than before? Eric nodded. They're not running. They're gathering. Helen touched the map screen beside her. You've helped more than we ever hoped. Be careful out there. Eric smiled. We will, and we'll be back. The Resolute and 2 other ships jumped to the dark zone. When they arrived, they found silence. No lights, no ships, just empty space. Then the trap closed. Varnock warships appeared from behind asteroids. Dozens of them. Their weapons were ready. Rachel shouted, "Ambush!" Shields up. Jordan Blake pulled the Resolute into a roll. Lasers lit the dark. The ship shook as blasts hit the shields. Return fire, Eric ordered. Do not let them surround us. The Earth ships fought back hard. They hit 3 Varnock ships in the first minute, but more kept coming. It was a swarm. Daniel Cruz rushed into engineering. We need more power to the shields. Pull it from the reserve lines. The ship shook again. A nearby cruiser was hit and started to fall apart. We can't hold this line, Rachel said. Eric stared at the map. Then he saw it. A small moon nearby. Get us to that moon. We'll make up. Stand there. The ships turned and headed for the moon. Varnak ships chased them. Missiles flew past. One hit the back of the Resolute and damaged the rear thrusters. "We're losing speed," Jordan said. "Hold it steady," Eric said. "We just need to reach the surface." They landed hard on the moon. Dust rose around them. The crew jumped into action, setting up defense lines. "Louis, take your team and guard the ridge," Eric said. The Varnock landed moments later. Their troops moved fast across the rocky ground. But Earth Marines were ready. They held the high ground and fired with calm force. Rachel ran cables from the ship to new towers they placed on the rocks. These towers sent out pulses that jammed Varnak's signals. "They can't talk to each other now," she said. "We've split their lines." The fight lasted through the night. Every hour brought more enemy soldiers. But Earth forces held strong. The moon became a wall. In the morning, the Varnak pulled back. They left bodies and broken ships behind. Eric looked at the smoke rising in the distance. "Send a message to Aloria," he said. "Tell them the Varnock failed again." Back on Aloria, Helen received the news. She smiled and turned to the people gathered in the square. "They stood on a strange moon and held the line," she said. "Earth does not run. Earth does not fall." Children clapped. Elders wept. Soldiers stood taller. In space, the Earth fleet grew larger. More ships arrived. More systems joined the fight. The Varnak were no longer the hunters. They were being hunted on the moon. Engineers turned the battle site into a new base. They named it Beacon 1. Captain Eric Lane stood beside Rachel and Louis. "We've stopped running from system to system," he said. "Now we build, now we protect." Rachel looked up at the sky, "And when they come again, we'll be ready." The stars above were wide and full. The Varnock was still out there. But Earth had shown something stronger than ships or weapons. They had shown heart. They had shown unity. And in every city, on every planet that heard the stories, people looked to the sky and believed again. The Dreadnoughts stayed, and the enemy watched from the dark, knowing now that Earth was not alone, not weak, and never late.